Thanks, Steven. Steven's been really influential in having us all learn new concepts. One of the ways we're actually doing that is by reading, and Steven's been making these white papers for some of the books. Kind of like the book we're on now is 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. We learned more about him when he came to USC, where me and Steven went, and he gave a little bit visibility of some of his concepts. So thank you, Steven, for doing this segment and breaking it down to this bite size on some of these concepts.
Yeah, thank you, Kurling. So just to give you guys kind of a quick overview, this is the 5th video in our series for 0 to 1. So if you haven't, feel free to check out the first 4. They're really great. But just to give you a quick overview of what we're doing here. So we have a culture of learning within Fokcus. Like Kurling mentioned, we're always trying to, internally continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to become better. And one of the ways we do that is by sharing information between each other, helping each other learn and grow. And so a lot of our founding team, reads books, articles, things like that. And so we like to share some things we found influential, and sometimes those things actually come into play with mentoring sessions we have with startups. And some of those tips become very valuable to founders. So we thought we'd make a video series on some that we thought were very valuable to us and very valuable in some of the sessions that we do, day to day. And so there is, in the book 0 to 1, written by Peter Thiel, he's one of the co-founders of PayPal, he mentions 7 questions that every business must answer. So now this is number 5 in the series, so we're going to talk about the distribution question. So to give you a gist of the distribution question, it is, do you have a way to not just create, but also deliver your product, is kind of the wording that's used in the book. And now, as engineers, Kurling and I are engineers by trade, right? We're software engineers. So as engineers, we spend most of our time in the lab, of course, right? We have our coats on, hypothetically, right? Mm-hmm. And we're building a product, right? But unfortunately, the world is not a laboratory, right? The world doesn't exist in laboratory conditions, right? Which is sometimes the fun of it. And having a way to sell and distribute a product is at least as important, if not more, than sometimes as creating the product itself. And it's something that a lot of startup founders sometimes forget or sometimes slips their mind, right? Depending on the experience they have. A lot of companies have gone out of business creating great products and not having any clear path to get them to their customers, right? Yeah. And it's kind of this cliche, thing that has been seen over and over, right? It's true that, great technology and great products can speak for themselves, but in order to do so very effectively, you also have to provide easy access to a platform, right? You have to allow a place where, customers can hear the message or that your product or service, is trying to deliver, right? So that message can be heard.
I like that, and I was just thinking, Steven, too. It's like, is there some example, maybe a project that you were on and you were helping with that distribution challenge, I guess I would say?
Yeah. So one of the ones that I guess is in the forefront of focus today is Tech School, right? We have all these pieces of video content. We have our webinar series, Tech School. We have all this stuff we're trying to push out, right? So distribution plays a key part in that, right? Our plan for distributing that content. How can we scale that to be able to help as many people as possible with videos like these, right? And our sessions with startup founders and things like that with Tech School, right? So there's a whole distribution plan that goes into that. One of the things that we've seen with Fokcus and something that we've heard about and seen from a lot of other founders is that there is a sliding scale with distribution, right? One person's distribution plan may not be another person's, and there's a lot of factors that come into that. One is the cost of the product, right? If you're selling a product that is between $10 and $1,000, then sometimes it doesn't make sense to hire a full sales team to do that, right? Because the cost of acquiring those customers and getting that product out there doesn't make sense. And so you might opt for building a website. How can I scale this beyond the human manpower of my team, right? Make all our efforts more valuable, right? So you have a plan to scale. Now, the other end of the spectrum, you also have products that are $100,000, right, or order of magnitudes bigger, right? An example of that might be the company like SpaceX, right? Elon Musk. Now they deal with billion-dollar government contracts and contracts for space exploration, right? So the cost to acquire, that $10 billion contract, they can, Elon Musk and maybe some of his executive team can, plan to, use a lot of their time to maybe make sure that they land that contract, right? Versus maybe a small company where, the time of that CEO and founding team might be better spent somewhere else, right? You have to have a distribution plan in either case, right? And so it's one thing to build a product, it's another thing to distribute it. Another kind of example, not in our personal experience, was something that, with a company that we see, on the news a lot, would probably be Tesla, right? So, kind of going the whole Elon Musk route. So Tesla, of course, they build a great product. As you can see, Elon Musk is an engineer by trade, right? So his team has worked very hard to build this great product in their electric car, right? But at the same time, they have a distribution plan for that, right? Their plan wasn't just build a car and say, hey, we built a car. Their distribution plan goes into, making a great enough product so that when somebody gets a Tesla, they now become an evangelist for that product, right? And also things like, building a supercharger network, right? It's one thing to get that product to somebody, but also, in their distribution plan to make sure that, make sure that charging isn't just something that, hey, we've built a great product, we hope that, the charging network is out of our control, right? No, they've taken the steps to be at the forefront of solving that problem as well. So distribution plans look different depending on, the cost of the product, what you're selling, whether it's a product, service, whether it's maybe software that's a lot more scalable than a physical product sometimes, right? So that changes a lot. But just to make sure that you have some sort of a distribution plan, and if it's something like us with tech school, that you have a plan to scale that, as time goes on.
I love that. I know Fokcus, we've been working with Apple, so I learned a lot from them. And even just that the product of the iPhone having this ecosystem around them, having like iTunes and having an app store that I can distribute frictionless, like you always say, Steven, more content on that phone. That made that device much more powerful.
Yeah. I mean, as you've seen with Apple, and something that we hear from, let's say, Jeff Bezos, right? He says this all the time with Amazon, is that he wanted to make that customer experience as frictionless as possible, right? He wanted to make it easy for somebody to, have one click and they're able to buy what they need from Amazon, get it as fast as possible, right? Reduce friction. And that's a huge key in distribution. We've seen that, right? How easy is it to operate an iPhone and to get an iPhone nowadays, right?
Definitely. I love all the examples you gave, Steven. I feel like this is actually really crucial for a lot of our founders. Any last thoughts?
I would say just, make sure. I know Kurling and I come from an engineering background, so this wasn't our first, viewpoint on distribution, right? We're always thinking about the product and engineering a great product, right? But you learn as you get more into entrepreneurship that you don't want to underestimate, the sales and distribution of your company, right? It's huge and it's important. And it needs to be taken into careful consideration because, having a good distribution plan can make a good product become a great success, right? It can propel a great product to even higher heights, right? So it's something that really is key to any business.
That's great. Well, thank you again, Steven. And I'm looking forward for our next little segment on everything.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone feel free to check out the next few sessions. They're exciting. If you have a chance, feel free to give us a like, leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We want to be able to learn from you as much as you might want to learn from us. So make sure to, leave your thoughts. We'd love to hear, ways we can improve this video or whatnot, or even if you have a question, right, feel free to leave that. But as always, we'll see you in the next video.